Hello. This video today is going to go over the first portion of the DreamFactory installation on Windows Server. This is basically going to get us all the way from the beginning of a fresh Windows Server to having the DreamFactory application available via development server with PHP Artisan Serve. So we're going to go through some of the initial server configurations, some of the, a couple things you have to download and install like Git and Visual C++, as well as configuring and installing PHP, a little bit of IIS config to help us out with PHP, as well as obviously installing and configuring DreamFactory and getting that running. So this is the fourth take that I've done this on because I had some technical issues. So I'm going to rewind a little bit, but I've already done a few things, but I'm still going to kind of show you what exactly I've done so far. So starting off in Server Manager, this will typically open for you as you start up Windows Server. Firstly, under local server, I did have to turn on remote desktop. This is typically off. And then in here, you have some settings about domain level auth and network level auth and all this stuff. So that's up to kind of how your environment's set up. And then I also turn off IE enhanced security configuration so that I can just download everything here on the server itself without having to mess around with like shared drives and USB sticks or what have you. But you could, of course, instead of downloading things on the server here, you could download them on your client, put them on a shared drive, and then drag them over. That's kind of up to you. But for me, I have installed Firefox, and instead of Edge, Internet Explorer, whatever, and turn that setting off. Okay, back into dashboard. Do add roles and features. We'll skip through that. Make sure whenever you're adding roles and features, you're doing role-based, not remote desktop services. Server selection, again, make sure it's your server. You'll most likely have more servers in here if you have more Windows servers in your environment. Server roles. The only thing you should have to check here would be web server IIS, and then you'll want to... Oh, I think I can actually come in here and show you the features for web server IIS. One second. Oh, it is back in here. Let's just expand all of these out, and I'll do a slow scroll. So you have your common HTTP features. I believe this is the only one I had to check. Everything else should have been checked by default. Health and diagnostic. Turn on your HTTP logging. If you have any custom logging, of course, you can turn that on too. That's checked by default. Security. Request filtering's great. I'm not using basic auth or any of this other stuff. You might do something fancy with SSL certs. That's not going to be covered in this video, so that's kind of up to you on how to do that. And you can, of course, do your Windows auth and stuff in here too, if you know how to do that through IIS. Then, of course, application development, make sure CGI gets checked. This is the thing that lets PHP run via the web server. And then, of course, management tools, IIS management console. Obviously, your stuff might not say installed on here, which it'll once it is installed, of course, it'll say installed. But this is more or less what you should look like. Then under features, I could be misspeaking here, but I think all of these were already checked, but I will expand just so you can see what it is I have checked on here. I believe there's one more. There it is. And then Windows PowerShell 5.1. I don't think I actually checked any of these. I think these are all default. But anyway, because I haven't changed anything, it won't let me go next, but you would hit next and confirm, and then it'll run its thing. Great news is while that's running, it'll tell you up here, you can just close Server Manager and go about doing whatever else it is you were doing. And it'll just do its thing in the background. Okay, that is pretty much all the server prep stuff you need to do. Everything else is more or less installing, configuring, other fun stuff. First thing you'll need is Git. GIT. I already installed this. You're just going to run the installer and click next or yes on everything. There's no settings you need to change for the default. And of course, make sure that you're running the 64-bit version when you get it. This link here is the again, it's in the docs, but just so you can see it here, it is an exe link, so it'll download automatically when I hit enter. But this is just installing the Visual C++ module that's needed for everything to work. Okay, and we'll just close that extra tab as well. Okay, configuring PHP. So there are links in the docs, however, I'm going to show you how to find it yourself because sometimes it's more useful to be able to see exactly how to find the version you want. There are cases where you might need to roll back a version because of a dependency issue or what have you, so we'll just do PHP Windows. All right, and we'll go to Windows, or actually we'll go to php.net rather than the Windows specifically. Okay, current stable, old stable. We want current stable, and we want Windows downloads. You notice that does bring us into windows.php.net. And you want to make sure you always use a non-thread safe version with PHP when it's running on a web server. And so we're going to get this zip right here, which as you can see with the one here I've already downloaded. Oh, that one I canceled. Okay. Into our downloads, this is what I downloaded yesterday. We will do a, extract all. And we're just going to extract it right into C/PHP. Let it do its thing. Great, it'll pop us into CPHP for us, and just kind of scroll through here, make sure it looks pretty similar. Really what you want to look out for, make sure your PHP CGI is in there, obviously make sure your PHP XE is in there, and then that you have an INI for development and an INI for production, and we're going to come back to that in just a second. What we want to do next, though, before we get too excited over here, is we want to see if it works. And I'm going to tell you now, it's not going to work, because I have not mapped the environment variable. So we'll edit system environment variables. You're going to come into environment variables. You're going to do take the path and edit the path variable here. And then we're going to do new, and we're going to go C:\PHP. And OK, and OK, and OK. One thing of note, that's still not going to work because I need to reinitialize command prompt. So we'll come in here, close that, get another prompt going. Hey, check that out. Now it found PHP for us. Okay, so now that PHP is mapped, we can start configuring it. Okay, first thing, we're going to build our INI file. I'm just going to use the development one because that's what I prefer to use. Copy and paste. Then rename this to just simply php.ini. It's going to complain that the file might become unstable. You should want to change it. Yes. And before I go any farther here, I want to highlight something. I do have, and you should as well, this file name extensions checked when you go into view. Make sure you have that checked. Otherwise, you might accidentally name this php.ini.ini. But if you check that, it should be easier. Okay, we will open this. Big old file here. So if you look at the docs, you'll be able to find this copy and paste I'm about to do. But we just want to grab all of that and put it in there. And so this is going to enable all of these extensions for us. And you notice something that's missing here, which we will go over here in a second, is we don't have a SQL Server in here. But I'm going to show you how to do that outside of the INI, so you have two ways to do things. All right, close that, save that. Great. And let me start the SQL Server driver install. We'll do that next. So firstly, GitHub, Microsoft, MS, PHP, SQL, and then go into the releases. And whatever the most recent is typically fine. What you want to make sure of, though, the thing that trips people up, notice at the bottom here on Windows, right? And same for all the OSs, but since we're talking about Windows, but 8.0, 8.1, 8.2, that refers to your major version of PHP. I believe we did 8.2, but let's just confirm. Yeah, 8.2.12. So make sure you get the appropriate version. So for us, it'll be 8.2. And then when we open that zip file, Windows 8.2, obviously 64. Perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. So, oops. What we'll do now is we'll come in here, go to this PC. We're going into our PHP installation, and we're going to go into extensions. And these are all your PHP extensions. This is how PHP loads your extensions to use them. What we're going to do is we're going to grab 82 NTS, meaning non-thread safe, so everything we're doing is non-thread safe. And PDO SQL Server 82 NTS, again, non-thread safe. We're going to copy those, and we're going to stick them over here. And then this is sort of up to you. You can remove this stuff if you want, the 82 NTS. I'm going to leave it on for this example, but you could remove these if you wanted to and just name it so everything's named the same, but not particularly a big deal. Okay. Okay, we got that, we got that. Then we're going to open up IIS. Firstly, I'm going to show you how to install the PHP Manager, which is just a nice little IIS utility that makes all of this stuff a lot easier. And then we'll do a little bit of IIS config. So let's grab, I believe, yep, PHP Manager for IIS 10. This link again is in the docs. By the way, this is why I installed Firefox. I actually have not tested it with Edge, so it might have just worked without this. But on Internet Explorer, this button does not work because of a JavaScript limitation. On Firefox, it works. On Chrome, it works. I have not tested Edge, so but this is the reason why I install Firefox, is just to get this button to work. Yeah, sure. So that's going to download an MSI for us. I'm just going to run it. I'm pretty sure I just do all defaults for this. Great. And I don't know why I opened up IIS before I did that, because you will have to close IIS and then reopen it in order to see that PHP Manager come in there. And we should be able to... We'll just do this here. Ah, okay, handler mappings. That's what I forgot. Hey, like I said, this is a raw video. Okay, we're going to come back here. This one's fine to do at the server level, but we're going to do handler mappings, which is right here. We're going to go add module mapping. And this module mapping is going to be for any file with a .php extension. Make sure that's lowercase. I've had issues with case sensitivity here, and obviously make sure that's an asterisk. Module here is going to be a fast CGI module that will autocomplete for you. Make sure you capitalize that F, and this is all in camel case. Browse to your executable. By default, it's going to try to get you to do a DLL here. Change that to exe. Go to your local disk. PHP. PHP-CGI.exe is the one you want. Not regular PHP. You want PHP CGI. Open. And then the name here, I don't think this is actually that important, but I always name it the same way. PHP_via_fast CGI. Request restrictions. We want to make this file or folder. Verbs. Make sure this is all. Sometimes it'll only say like get post put or something like that. Just make sure this is all. And access should be script. Just make sure that's script. Okay. And okay. Do you want to create a fast CGI application for this executable? Yes, we do. Great. Handler mappings is done. So now we should be able to come in here. PHP. Okay. It's fine to do this part on the server. I'll show you what you do on the website itself here in a bit. But this part is fine to do on the server as a whole. View recommendations. I just check everything in here. But see what we're setting a few of these that are important, right? We want to make sure we have an extension directory, our error log, all this other fun stuff. Their default recommendations are just fine to me. Obviously, you might need to change your time zone if you're in a different time zone. I can't remember if this is actually geolocated or if it's always Los Angeles, but you might need to change that. Hit OK. Great. Our notice goes away. Couple great things in here about the PHP Manager I just want to show real fast. If you're troubleshooting your PHP install, this check PHP info is really great. If I can click the default, there we go. I'm going to hit OK here. This, look at your scroll bar, it's a giant, giant, giant page, but this is like all of the administrative data you could possibly want on your PHP installation. If I was troubleshooting, this is where I want to go first to see if everything's right with the installation. But like I said, we need to do some extension changes here. So we're going to do enable or disable. And we're going to scroll through. Notice, it is just reading from that extensions directory that we put stuff in. So we just need to enable our two SQL Server extensions. Oh, that's odd. And just because I saw it here, we're also going to make sure you grab zip. That probably was not in my copy paste. So I'll have to go update the docs and resolve that. But this is okay. The DLLs don't need to be at the end of everything, and this is just reading off the INI. So we're going to go back to the main page, and I'm just going to show you real quick, because I think this is important context to understand what's happening. We are in the PHP folder. Why am I missing things? That's a little weird. Let's come in here, here. Let's come in this way. Oh, because I didn't scroll down. That was silly of me. Anyway, there it is. PHP INI. We'll just open it real quick. Scroll all the way to the bottom. And just notice, this is what it added. So yeah, this should have been in this copy paste. I probably didn't grab something correctly, but that's fine. But just to show you, this is how the PHP manager adds it. No difference to PHP. It does not care. Not a big deal. Okay, so that's working. Yep, okay, checking my docs. That does encapsulate all of the initial PHP setup. And now we're going to get Composer going. So Composer is the PHP package manager that we use. This is what's going to read your license files, your Composer files, and know what things and what extra packages and stuff like that to install. So we're just going to download and run composer setup.exe. Okay, and we're going to run it. I will double check as I'm going through this, but I do believe, yeah, we do want to install for all users. I do believe you're just going to do the defaults. Don't click developer mode. You probably want it on installer just in case something gets broken. Choose the, notice, command line PHP you want to use. So for this one, it is okay to have php.exe. You do not need the CGI. This is just fine. Check your command line. I'm not using a proxy. If you were, you could fill in those details there. This has been already. Great. Install. Okay, that's fine. We don't need to view the docs, but we'll finish. Okay. Then I always like to check. Look, Composer works. And I guess if you want a better check, is it -v or -v? I can't remember. Oh, I believe it's 2 dashes. All right, Composer makes you spell version. So there you go. You can see your version. So Composer is working. This is great. Next step. Note that we need to clone the actual DreamFactory code itself. So we're going to cd into a netpub www-root. Oh, I am not on Linux. What is it? dir. And we can see that we don't have anything in here, and that's great. And I'm going to grab over here my git clone command. And so we're just doing a git clone of the base DreamFactory repo here. Nothing too fancy. It's going to create a DreamFactory folder and clone everything into that DreamFactory folder. Okay, and then if we do a dir again, you see we have a DreamFactory folder, and we will cd into that folder, and dir again just to make sure. I'm just skimming. Yep. That was good. That should be about what yours looks like too. Now, I forgot to do one extra prep step. So when you clone, these Composer files are the open source version of the Composer files, so no commercial features. So you wouldn't have any access to like SQL Server connections, some of the scripting stuff, and a few other things. So I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to get my commercial versions of these files onto this machine. and then I will resume the video. So just do this in whatever way you'd like to do it. I see a lot of customers just put a little folder here on the desktop with like their license files and stuff in it, so it's easy to find later. But anyway, I'm going to pause and be right back. Okay, and I'm back. So as you can see, I just got the 3 Composer JSON, Composer JSON disk, Composer lock, and these are the most up-to-date version of the files. So you would just grab your version of these files from either the SFTP server, maybe you already have them and you're sticking to the same version, wherever. And all I'm going to do is come into this PC, C drive, a netpub, going to the DreamFactory folder, right? www.root, DreamFactory. This folder, whenever you see your docs or myself or an email or whatever referring to the DreamFactory folder, that is this folder, okay? And so we're going to paste those 3 Composer files into this folder, and yes, we are going to replace them. And so now you can see we got a change date of 11/17, which is a few days ago. Great. Okay. Oh, I'm going to do one little fun thing here. How do I do this again? Oops. I thought there was a fancy way I could add this to... If you know how to do it, there is a fun way, and I don't remember off the top of my head now, to pin... Oh, maybe I just need to come here. Ah, there it is. Find the folder itself, don't be in the folder, and pin to quick access. You'll be in here a lot. I highly recommend just having that on there. Nice and easy. And actually, you know what? I do occasionally need to get into PHP as well. Okay, anyway. Let's just make sure that we have Composer files. We do, and that they are, yes, a different change date over here, 11/17. Okay. So... now we're just going to install. So you're going to run Composer install. You're going to type right though. No dev. Ignore platform rex. And while not entirely necessary, I recommend adding verbose on here. Sometimes it'll feel like this command hangs a little bit, and verbose kind of gives you a little more visibility on what's happening. And then occasionally, if it really feels like it's hung, just hit enter a couple times. Sometimes on Windows it's a little weird and needs a little bit of a push. But anyway, let's run it. So you can see downloading all of our fun little packages and stuff, and specifically to highlight that this is commercial, right? We got our SQL Server stuff right in here. Okay, let that run. I'll highlight something while this is running. What this is doing mechanically is it is sticking all of these packages in its own organized way via vendor and then package name into this vendor folder. And so this vendor folder is what contains all of your packages and extra code and all that fun stuff that runs. So once this is done, we're going to do a couple other little things. You're pretty much good to go as far as like having an install running on the development server. And I'll show you, I'm going to show why I'm going to do something in kind of an odd way here in a second. See, this might be a hang up. Sometimes I get hung up here and I'll just hit enter. Nothing happened. That's fine. I'm just going to give it a sec to figure itself out. It does sometimes get a little bit slow here. This is, again, a Windows server running on a VM in my basement, so it's not the most powerful. Ah, there we go. Yep, see, sometimes it just takes a little bit to get through some of those steps. Okay, this all looks good, making sure I have everything done. Okay, so from here... So there's a few schools of thought on this from this point here, and this really depends on how you as a user are set up on DreamFactory. So normally what I do next, if I was just doing a full install, is I do something like artisan df env. And this would set up like the system database, which holds all your configurations and all that other fun stuff. And then after that runs, I would do df setup, which is how you set up your first admin user and get all that stuff running. So if your goal is to just take this install folder and stick it somewhere else, like on a offline Windows machine or something, I don't have a good way to test this, but you might just be able to do it from here, and it might just work. Zip up that folder, send it away, good to go. And actually, what I'm going to do right now, we're going to copy, and we're going to paste. And all I'm doing is making a backup of this DreamFactory folder, just in case I do something unintentional here. Okay, so I guess I jinxed it because right as I said, this is a VM running in my basement. It locked up the entire RDP session, but the copy went through. We were able to get that going, so let's just resume where I was. So as I said, and I'm just going to edit the two videos together, I suppose. As I said, normally from here, I'd run, the df-env command and the df setup command. So I'm going to run those here, and the reason why... And I'm going to have both a version of this install with and a version of this install without this step done, just in case. And so the reason why I'm going to do this and walk through everything is so that I could just test to make sure everything's working and configured correctly. But what it'll do, because I'm going to use a SQLite as my storage, my local database, is it's going to create a local database for me here in the file system. So that'll just get shipped along with everything else. So anyway, PHP Artisan, df-env, ready and go. What type database? I'm going to use SQLite because it's local. Database name. Okay, notice just kind of one fun little thing, right? You don't need a database user for SQLite. All right, PHP Artisan, df setup. This is running all of our table migrations. It's building the schema in the database. It's pointing things to things, doing everything it needs to do. And I'm going to talk through what I'm putting in here just in case you need this database, you need to change something with it later. So this is going to be, let's just call it root admin. Email address is going to be rootadmin at example.com. Sure. And then password is going to be password1, password1. Just in case you need to log in and change that for any reason, you would be able to with the zip file we're going to end up with. Okay, setup's complete. Your instance is ready. So if I did everything right, I should be able to run that. And now this VM is going to be really slow for a minute, but that's okay. And then 127.0.0.1.8,000. Ta-da. And what did I say that was? I said it was test admin at example.com. What did I say the password was? Root admin, excuse me. Ta-da! Okay, so this would constitute a working development server version of DreamFactory. So we have everything we need to run here. I think it's looking pretty good. Yeah, we'll just check out config real quick, make sure. Yep, double checking that yes, we got gold stuff installed, and then our installed packages have the packages that we want. So from here, what I'm going to do is kind of walk through what some of these next steps are going to look like. So you notice, first things first, right? we got this big old nasty red banner because I did not have a license key in my file here yet. So what I'm going to do is show you where you would put it. So you're going to have an env file that already exists on your system. Your best bet is to keep that same env file for two reasons. And this is kind of why I had to do that little split there with the df env and the df setup commands. So here's what I want to highlight for you real quick. App key. This app key is the encryption key for the system database. So when you go in and you're connecting to a database and you enter in your database credentials, right? This app key is what encrypts it, right? What scrambles it so nobody can tell what your password is and your connection string and stuff. So this app key ties to the database that it was created with, meaning if your current DreamFactory instance is connected to a database, which it most likely is, you need to keep the same app key for that database. So what you would do in this case, if you use this env file, right, is you would grab your old app key, copy and paste it in here and replace it. And then I bet you somewhere in your old env file, probably at the bottom, that's where it usually gets stuck, there's a df, I believe it's df underscore license key equals, and then your license key. You'd want to copy that over as well. The other thing to keep in mind here, let me find it, excuse me, there it is. I set this up as SQLite running locally because it's just the quickest, easiest way to get things going. If you are connected to a different, most likely remote database, that's what we usually see, you would need to come in here and update it. So right, this might be like MySQL or SQL Serve instead of SQLite, and your host, port, database, username, password. And then you would, after you make any changes to this file, I'm not going to save my changes, you would come in here and you would do php artisan config clear. And that will dump the configuration and launch the new config. What else do we want to show you here? That's there. That's good. That's good. Okay. I think we're at a good stopping point here for what we would get. So okay, that concludes this video, and I will send all this stuff over.